Hey garden people of the Guelph Tool Library, it's Meredith going live on a Wednesday night in the garden to talk about some gardening things. We have some cool upcoming stuff happening. July 14th, we have a workshop on how to make a rain barrel, which I'll show you the one from last year. It's going to be the same thing, really awesome. And mine has held up really nice. I've even done a bit of a modification to mine where I actually have some plants in here. Some floating water plants and some little fish friends who are there's one. They're kind of shy, but the water's been cycling in here for quite a while and has a lot of nutrients in there. Oh, there he is. And this water is actually really great to use in the garden. I'm just careful now that there's fish in it. Oh, there they are, all three of them. Yep, there's 3 little fish in there now. There's some floating water hyacinths and some floating water lettuce. So yeah, July 14th, we have a make your own rain barrel workshop coming up where you will have a rain barrel just like this for your own garden. They can be painted whatever color you want. They have a lid. I moved it somewhere else, but there's a lid. This is the overflow, and then there's also a spigot at the bottom. I've added this green hose for filling up a watering can. The following Saturday after that, which I believe is July 17th, we'll be having a fundraising garage sale at my place with lots of tools and things from the Guelph Tool Library to make some extra money and to give a new home to those items. So yeah, today we are going to be talking about propagating basil from cuttings. You can do this with a lot of plants. I like to do it with basil. You can also do this with tomato suckers and peppers and various things. And I will show you how I do that. Let me just flip this around. So I've got some Thai basil right here, and I'll show you, I've got some little things in my other hand here set up. These are some peppers I did a while ago, and that's just kind of an example of what happens when you do it. I've got some little clipping shears that are for sewing, but they're super, super sharp. They've been cleaned and they are ready to go. Here's the Thai basil. It's pretty small. I want it to get bigger. So these are actually edible. You can put them on salad. Of course, it's Thai basil, so you could put this in a fresh spring roll, anything on top, dress it on top of a pad thai, a stir fry, anything like that. And what I'm going to do, this one I'm not actually going to propagate, but what I am going to do to encourage, you can kind of see if we zoom in here, at every little nook in the plant, there are some little leaves starting up, and those will actually become full-on shoots. So what I want to do is actually remove these flowers completely at the base. I don't want to disturb any of these notches. Might be a couple of cuts, but I'm going to clip that off. This is totally edible, so we're going to save that. And I'm just going to remove these flowering heads because the plant wants to go and create those flowers and seeds, but what we want is more bushy leaf growth so I can get more herb off of this plant. So just saving those. Normally I would use my other hand to kind of stabilize the plant, but we're going in one-handed today. And all that I'm going to be reusing into something tonight, maybe even a fancy cocktail. You could put some Thai basil in there. But basically I want to remove any of those flowering tips. If you don't have little sharp little scissors or snips, you can just use your sharp fingernails and do it that way. But this may be a little bit too small for one-handed use, but I'm going to clip that stuff off. And then what that's going to do is encourage these elbows and joints of this plant, especially you can kind of see right there, there's like this little tiny leaves to actually grow up and become a larger part of the plant. So that's just an example of Thai basil. Over here in a planter, I have some pesto basil, which is like a variegated basil, which you cannot actually get the seeds for whatever reason. I think it's probably like owned by a company and that's why you can't. But what I'm going to do, you can just clip the tops off. It doesn't look like it's actually going to go to flower anytime soon, but I would like a couple more of these plants. So what I'm going to do is go down at this joint as close as I can and snip that off. And I'm going to save this piece. If I can get a little longer, I should, but maybe there's other ones. There are some other options on here. I'm going to clip that guy as well. It's a really beautiful plant and it smells really, really good. There we go. So I'm just going to save that part of the plant. I've got 2 of them now. Saving those ends, super sharp, put them right there for now. I think that's all I want to do right now. Maybe that guy. Let's see if we can't demo this. All right. So I've got 3 pieces like that. And over in the dirt over there, when I was doing the Thai basil, I have a little jar of water. Just clean, fresh water. I might actually dump out more than that. And all you're going to do is make sure that those ends are touching in the water. Their leaves are kind of supporting them above. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to show you those peppers in a second. They're looking kind of interesting. And in a couple days even, if this is left in a really sunny windowsill spot, you don't want to leave this outside because I find that the water completely evaporates really fast, but we're just going to leave those tips dangling in the water and they will sprout little roots. And once that happens, you can repot them into little pots or directly into the ground. These are some of my fancy peppers that I topped, and what I ended up doing is just saved those cuttings, and they've been sitting in water, and the ends produce some really cool roots. This one actually has purple roots, which is pretty cool. I may have to tuck those roots back in there eventually, but they've been sitting in the water, and they've got a bunch of roots ready to be planted. It's a great way to use a shot glass that I never use. But yeah, you can also do this with tomato suckers. I'm going to show you, actually you can also do it with coleus. I'll show you some of that. This is a coleus, which is like a shade annual. Same concept. You can snip it right there and that'll encourage more growth at the joints. But then I can also start a whole new plant without starting it from seed. Let's go to the front garden and I'll show you some more basil. I'm going to grab some more basil cuttings, but that's really about it. You can do this with mint, anything in the basil family, sage, a lot of herbs. You can't do this with certain plants, but basil loves it. Okay, there's a big one here. This is a purple ruffle basil that I started from seed, and if we look here, it is starting to thinking about flowering a little bit. So I might come and snip that one. It's a little bit taller, but as you can see, it's got a lot of other joints. And if I just actually take the whole top and snip it off, I can start this and this will just be its own plant. And you can barely tell. In a couple days you won't be able to tell at all, but that's just going to send more energy to these other areas of this plant to get fuller and bushier and actually give me more basil in the end. These ones are coming along. I may wait for them to be a little bit bigger before I do that, but this is another kind of perfect candidate. We can even see that there's some like younger basil beyond that first sprig, so you don't have to. You can just use this and actually use the basil, but sometimes I like to start more plants. So yeah, I'm just going to take that, and that's just part of normal basil maintenance, is making sure that you, as an example, clip off those flowers. You can let it flower later in the season, but I like to do this clipping to make sure I'm getting a lot of yield. There, I don't know where it fell down, but that should do the trick. And that'll encourage these joints to grow more. This is a really neat one with like lime green edges. And by snipping the top, all that's going to come up.
Hello.
Hi. Bye. And I'm going to snip this one a fair bit and see what happens. I've got a couple there. Bit of an experiment, and I'm going to pop that one in the water. So I've got a couple. All right. Didn't have my tripod today, so. Yeah, looks pretty good for now. I don't have any other basil in this bed. My Swiss chart's being kind of weird in here. I'm not really sure why. That is concerning. It could be that the soil is not great there, but oh well. Everybody else is super happy. And you can do this same technique to a sucker of a tomato. So if I take this little guy, which is, we know it's the sucker because they always have this main leaf. There's the main branch, and then there's, in the elbow, we'll say, there is like a sucker. So I'm going to take this little one. It's okay to leave a couple of them, but you want to get rid of those lower ones as the plant is growing up so that it can focus its energy elsewhere. There's a nice flower cluster coming along, which will become some fruit, which is exciting. This is a variegated tomato, which looks kind of different. We'll follow that guy along as it's growing, but this would be an example of one you might want to save sucker. So yeah, that is the tutorial for tonight on how to maintain and take cuttings from basil, mint, other herbs, and put them in water and start some new free plants. It's not too late in the season to do that. It's a great way to save money. You can do this at the end of the season to actually make more plants and keep them over the winter. So let me know if you try this, and I will check in maybe next week to see what kind of roots we got. And yeah, I will see you then. Bye.